Good morning, second grade. Today is Wednesday, April 22nd. And April 22nd is a special day. Do you know what's special about today? It's special because today is Earth Day. Now, are you wondering what Earth Day is? Earth Day is celebrated across the whole world. And it's a day where we can take some time to think about what we can do to take better care of our Earth. Now, there are things we can do all year long, and taking care of our Earth is the responsibility of all of us. But today we want to take some time to think especially about what you can do to take care of the Earth. Now, you might be thinking, hey, I'm just a kid. What can I do? But kids can do great things to help with taking care of our Earth. The first thing that I think of that you can do is recycle. Now, recycle means to use again. And I have a picture to show you that might explain recycling a little bit better. Here are some bins full of items that you can recycle. Now, you know we do this at school. You always see Mrs. Mickelson recycling paper. Glass can be recycled. That should never be thrown away. Plastic also should never be thrown away. Plastic takes hundreds of years sometimes to break down. So if you drink water from a plastic water bottle, never throw that away. Always recycle it. And metals can also be recycled, like cans that you maybe eat soup from, or maybe you drink a beverage out of. So recycling is the first thing that you can do. Another thing that you can do as a kid is save electricity. You know in school how we always have the energy saver, and the energy saver turns off the lights when they leave the room. That's important that you always do that. Think of what you can do when you leave the room. You can turn off the lights, make sure you don't leave the TV on or any other appliance that you no longer need to use when you leave the room. So save electricity. Another thing you can do is help to conserve water. Don't use more water than you need. You could do this maybe when you brush your teeth. Make sure you don't leave the water running. Make sure you turn it off. And did you know that taking a shower uses less water than taking a bath? So just taking a shower instead of a bath is something you can do to help our Earth. Another thing you can do is just always pick up trash. Throw away the things that should be thrown away. Recycle the things that should be recycled. And if you see that other people around you haven't done a good job of that, you can help out by picking up trash that you see. You also could walk or ride a bike somewhere instead of having your parents take you in a car. That helps to save on gasoline. So then you're saving some fuel, and that will also help our Earth. There's another thing that you might not have heard of. It's called composting. I'm going to tell you just a little bit about composting today. There's a compost cycle. And what composting involves is you eat some yummy food, and instead of just throwing that food into the normal waste or the normal garbage, instead you put it into a compost bin. And then those food scraps will decompose, they will break down, and they will make a special type of soil that you can add to regular soil that will make the soil very, very healthy. And you mix that compost with soil and it helps food grow. I'm going to show you a picture of a compost pile right there. In that compost pile, you will find some twigs, maybe straw, grass, some leaves. The food waste is mixed in there, like maybe coffee, maybe banana peels, maybe another kind of peel, like maybe if you peeled your orange. And so that food waste mixes in there. It takes a little bit of water too, but in a few months that all breaks down. It's called decomposing, and it becomes compost. So tell your parents about composting. That would be something fun that maybe you could make with your parents. So today for reading, we are going to read chapter 3. And I want you to get your book, if you have your book now, for Lions at Lunchtime, because we're going to do our reading. I just remembered one more thing, though, before we read. I did put a seesaw activity about Earth Day for you to do today. I put that on Seesaw. I would like you to go to that activity, and there's a link in that activity to a video that tells you more about Earth Day. So after you watch that video, you will see that there are clouds on the template. And in the clouds, you can write different things that you can do to help the earth. So you'll learn some things on the video. You learned some things from me this morning, and maybe there's some other things that you know already that you can do to help the earth. So be sure to do that activity today. I can't wait to see your responses. And now go get Lions at Lunchtime, and we will continue with chapter 3. Now we are ready to begin chapter 3 in Lions at Lunchtime. And if you think back to where we left off yesterday, Jack was wondering, where are the lions? Chapter 3 is called Disaster. If you have your book, please follow along in your own book. If not, follow along right here on the screen. "Come on, Jack," Annie called. She was almost to the river. "Just a minute," he shouted. He wanted to study the giraffes and zebras. He pulled out the Africa book and found a picture of giraffes. He read. Now remember, this is where we find the facts. The giraffe is the tallest animal in the world. Its legs alone can be 6 feet tall, and its hooves can be as big as dinner plates. The giraffe has a very powerful kick, which makes it dangerous to attack. For this reason, lions tend to avoid giraffes. Now, to avoid something, remembers, means to stay away from something. Jack pulled out his notebook and wrote, "Notes on Africa. Lions avoid giraffes." He turned the page and read more. Zebras live in family groups. As no two zebras have exactly the same pattern of stripes, every baby zebra must learn its own mother's pattern. Now that's very interesting. Maybe you didn't know that before. Jack studied the zebras, trying to see their different patterns. But in the hazy afternoon light, all the stripes made him dizzy. He blinked to clear his head, then read more. Zebras are the first to cross the river because they eat the coarsest grass. After they've thinned down the top layer, the wildebeests arrive and eat the next layer. They prepare the grass for the gazelles, who come last. Wow, thought Jack. Each animal depends on the one that goes before. He wrote, animals all connected, because they all depend on each other. Jack heard Annie shouting from the riverbank, "Jump, beasts, jump! You can do it! Don't be afraid! Come on!" He looked up. Annie herself was jumping as she called to the wildebeests. Jack sighed. "I'd better stop her before there's trouble," he thought. He put away the Africa book and his notebook. Then he jogged toward the river. His pack was heavy and lumpy, bumping against his back. He'd forgotten to take out the jar of peanut butter and the loaf of bread. Jack decided to leave them at the treehouse. He turned to go back. But just then, Annie's shouting stopped. Jack looked at the river. She had vanished. "Annie?" he called. No answer. Where was she? "Annie!" Jack shouted. She had completely disappeared. "Oh, man," said Jack. Their trip had barely begun, and already disaster had struck. He forgot about the stuff in his pack. He just ran as fast as he could. He wove his way between the grazing zebras and giraffes as he raced to the river. "Help!" called Annie. So as we end this chapter, we know that Annie must be in some kind of trouble because she's calling for help. Now, as a reader, you can call that a cliffhanger. And a cliffhanger means right now you don't know what's going to happen and you're anxious to hear what's going to happen next. But second grade, remember you promised you would not read ahead even if you have the book. So we are stopping at the end of chapter 3. And sometimes I stop at a certain spot on purpose to keep you guessing what might happen next. You know that's what good readers do. So take some time to do that, and we will read chapter 4 tomorrow. And now it's time for math. So please get out your page from yesterday. It was 548. We'll quickly go over the answers. Look on 548. This is what your picture graph should look like. Maybe you use something instead of circles, but that's okay. Maybe you drew a different picture for each toy. You could do that too. Number 8, how many more? Remember, ding, 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 subtract. So how many more votes did bike get than baseball? That's 5 minus 4. The answer is 1. How many people like jump rope and inline skates? So you add up the votes for jump rope plus the 2 votes for inline skates, and you get 5. Now here's the brain builder. The first one was a little tricky. You had to find out how many more people voted for bike and jump rope altogether than voted for baseball and inline skates. So you had to add up 5 and 3 to get 8, 4 and 2 to get 6, and then since it is a how many more question, remember, ding, 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 subtract. You had to subtract 8 minus 6, so your answer is 2. Number 11, if 3 more people vote for jump rope and 1 more person votes for baseball, which toy is the favorite? Then the favorite is jump rope. And for text practice, you should have filled in the word bike. So now for today, I am going to teach you how to take that information and make something called a bar graph. Now when it comes to a bar graph, there's a rhyme I want you to learn. And the rhyme is, and I think you've heard me say this before, the taller the bar, the more there are. Say it with me. The taller the bar, the more there are. So, my job is to ask 10 classmates to pick their favorite winter activity. I'll show you how we're going to make a bar graph. Now, I wish you were here with me, but you know how this works. We're going to do a little pretending. So, I'm going to pretend, you will need crayons for this activity. So, if you don't have crayons, pause it here and go get them. The best way to make a bar graph is with some color. Okay, so I'm going to start and pretend I asked Alex. And we're going to say that Alex chose sledding. So we're just going to put a tiny dot in sledding for now. And you'll see why we're putting the dots. Not a tally, just a little dot. You'll understand why in a minute. And we're asking 10 classmates. Gunnar. I think Gunnar likes skiing. So put a dot for Gunnar. Chaselyn. Ooh, Chaselyn, I think you like ice skating. So we're going to put a dot in ice skating for Chaselyn. Ryan also likes sledding. So another dot for sledding. Yaneli, she loves to go sledding with her sister Karina. So we'll put a dot there for Yaneli. Zeta likes snowboarding. And Bensley likes skiing. Peyton. Peyton, I think you like sledding too. Adrian. Adrian is another friend that likes sledding. Just a tiny little dot. And Kane likes skiing. I bet he likes cross-country skiing at those state parks that he likes to go to. Now, I was told to ask 10 classmates, so let's see. We have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. So I have asked 10 friends, and here's where you need the crayons. So we put the dot in the box so you would know that those are the boxes you will need to color in. When you make a bar graph, the first thing you do is outline all the boxes you need to color. I want you to do this with me. And then you color. You don't really want to see that dot, so you might have to color a little dark. If you see it just a little bit, that's okay. And you want to stay within your lines to make the bar look really nice. Remember our rhyme? The taller the bar, the more there are. So now it looks like one bar instead of 5 rectangles. So we're going to choose another color for ice skating. And I see I only get to color in 1 rectangle for ice skating. Oh, I was looking for blue. Here we go. So first thing you do is color around the box and then color in. Hope you're doing this with me. Oh, let's use a green now for skiing. I see 3 votes for skiing. So you outline all 3 boxes into 1 bar. This is a bar graph because we use bars to represent the data. And I haven't used anything in the reddish family yet, so this is kind of a purplish color in that last rectangle. And now I have a bar graph. Now you know I said the taller the bar, the more there are. This bar graph is horizontal, but if I turned it vertically, you can see the tallest one is sledding. So our class likes blank best. We all know we're going to write sledding. Yep, you had to put double that D before you add the ing. So that is what your bar graph should look like. Now I'm looking on your matrix, and it says that you are to do guided practice number 1 on page 550 of your math packet. Tell a family member your answer to the talk math question. So that means you need to turn this paper over. And we have guided practice. A bar graph uses bars to show data. To make a bar graph, color 1 box for each vote. Bar graphs can look different. And sometimes bar graphs are vertical. Sometimes they are horizontal. So what they've done at the top is they have made a tally chart after people voted for their favorite breakfast food. And they're showing that same information, that same data, 2 different ways. They showed the favorite breakfast food with a horizontal bar graph, and then they showed it with a vertical bar graph. So the only thing you have to do today, this is pretty easy, is you're going to take this tally chart and you are going to use these squares to make a bar graph. And your bar graph is to represent this data that you see right here. So I'd like you to use your colors. I would like you to remember to outline the boxes. You might want to start with dots like I did. And then you are going to make your bar graph. The talk math question is what you are to talk to a family member about. How are bar graphs different from picture graphs? So that is your math assignment for today. Now, after I finished reading chapter 3, I did not tell you your reading assignment yet, so let's talk about the reading assignment. You were to watch my YouTube video and follow along with chapter 3. That part's already done, but now you need to then complete page 5 in your reading packet. So I will go over that with you now. Please find page 5. Remember, you can always pause my video when you want to get what you need. And here are your questions to answer. Now again, I would like you to do this on Seesaw. And if you go to Seesaw, I already created the activity that you can respond to. You don't just have to start with plus. You can go to that activity and respond to the activity that I posted. That makes it easier for me to keep everybody's work together in the whole class. So go to Seesaw and find where it says Lions at Lunchtime. It will say 4-22 for April 22nd. Here's number 1. Why was Annie going to the river at the beginning of the chapter? Now remember, if you don't have the book, just go back and listen to what I read at the beginning of the chapter. Number 2, tell one fact about giraffes that you learned in chapter 3. Do you remember how you find the facts in the heavy, bold words? Number 3, tell one fact about zebras that you learned in chapter 3. Remember to write a complete sentence with a capital letter and a period. Number 4, why was Annie yelling, "Jump, beasts, jump," from the riverbank? If you don't remember, that's okay. Go back and hear the story again. Now here are the 2 critical thinking questions where you need to think a little bit deeper. Number 5, what does Jack mean when he writes in his notebook, "Animals all connected"? That's a good question. And number 6, at the end of the chapter, Annie was yelling, "Help!" Make a prediction about why she was yelling and what might happen next. Just like what I said when I was reading. Good readers stop and make a prediction. So you do your work for today, and I will be thinking of you, and we will be together with a video again tomorrow. So tune in the morning tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.